and I will talk about a virtual laboratory platform that we're building. It's called SPINE, which stands for Structured Planning and Implementation of New Explorations. The original name was Neurological Explorations, but of course it can be extended to anything images, we believe. And what it is, it's a virtual laboratory that is designed, on one hand, to accelerate scientific discovery through crowdsourcing, and doing this while educating and actively involving people, but also lay people, in neurological research using advanced neuroimaging. And as you have seen in the last 2 or 3 talks, actually nearly in all the talks, imaging is really central to neuroscience at all levels. You have just seen an example or examples from my colleague Hugo Frankel. My day job is very similar to Hugo's. We've known each other for a long time. I also do a lot of image segmentation, and which I will not talk about here. And we've also heard from David more on the basic, and Karl-Heinz has intervened on the basic neuroscience level. The question of quantitation, of quantification comes up again and again, as Hugo has really made very clear. Expert intervention is still necessary. Perhaps some of you are aware of iWire, which is Professor Song's crowdsourcing tool to outline images such as those that David Horrigan showed us. And you can imagine how that work is painstaking, even in today's world of automated analysis tools. And so there's a lot of work to be done. We have more data and less resources to analyze them. As a human review and correction remains necessary. And this is really an opportunity to synergize between education and research. And we'll show you in a moment how we're thinking about it. And also, I'm really not an expert on education, so I'm particularly grateful and humbled by the fact that I was invited by the organizers. So I thank again for having me here to moderate this session. And I've learned a lot from Reuven also in what the world of education is, and really I'm looking for these interactions. I don't think that any of us, or certainly not, can do all of this alone. As I said, we need the students in particular to tell us how can we learn better, what works, what doesn't work. So we're not just in the neuroscience world, but also in the world of education. We're at a new dawn, I think. And participation, I think, is a crucial element in getting educated. Participating in the real world as soon as possible. When I think about education, I think about it, and I think all the panelists seem to agree with this, at multiple levels, not just students of neuroscience, but also education of researchers. This cross-links to the need for standardization of manual outlining of the hippocampus, for instance. I've recently done a small pilot study looking at different definitions of the hippocampus. And of course, if you look at ADNI's definition, it's different from researchers in schizophrenia. It's the same structure. So having this out in the open, having access to validation studies, and having the dirty little secrets out in the open, just like Hugo presented a moment ago, I think is very important. And these platforms tend to get on a life of their own. It becomes not just education about neuroscience, but education about statistics, the Dice coefficient, education about mathematics. So it's a very exciting world. I'll try to keep my day job, but I'm very excited about interacting with educators. Clinicians, Hugo addressed that also. This branches off essentially into image-based scoring and prognosis. Neurologists are often familiar with the outcome measures of image-based metrics, but they don't know much about the MRI acquisition standards, and even less usually about, with notable exceptions of course, about the image analysis procedures and the pitfalls, again, as shown a moment ago, that can hugely impact actually their measurements. And finally, dissemination is important. We heard from David on this, and I will proceed now to present to you spine. In a nutshell, we're trying to squeeze a lot of things in something intuitive and easy to use. We would like to, and these goals I think overlap very nicely with the Human Brain Project's goals, that hopefully there's also a lot of complementarity and synergy with their goals. It's an infrastructure for collaborative neuroscience. We think, we heard from Shani, there are repositories of data. Similarly, there are repositories of images in the clinical world, in the basic science world. We have this need. I'm going to present data on MRI, but you can think about microscopy, two-photon microscopy, other types of microscopy, painstaking work to quantify. So we are thinking in our system about project-specific, question-specific data federation from distributed data sources. That's one feature we're trying to get in. Structured project design, execution and management, as well as reporting. Structured project design is important. It forces us to think, what's the question, what's the hypothesis, and how are we implementing it? And this should all be transparent and reproducible by the public, and whether scientific or other. And a real emphasis on a strong educational component through crowdsourcing. But also we think that the system can serve for new algorithm benchmark testing, as well as standardized expert interactions, and replication of experiments should be made easy. I learned yesterday the difference between reproducing an experiment and replicating it, so I changed the wording here. And I am going now straight to the video. These are the roles that are served, or that we would like to be served by the spine platform. And now I hope that I can switch rapidly. I will show you. Okay, how do I do this here? Okay, so here is, I just did a screen capture of an older version of the spine platform. If anybody is interested, it goes quite fast, but these are the messages that I pointed out. The key is the different roles. These roles exist. I'm not inventing anything new, but we're trying to do what in financial terms is called arbitrage, optimizing. Today we have postdocs who are outlining structures for months at a time when it's children's play. It can be made into children's play and it becomes educational for children. Let the postdocs think about science, write papers. They need to understand the pitfalls, but they can do it by spending maybe 1 or 2 days on, not months. Here you see 4 tabs: projects, skills, people, real life. The projects are provided through another portal. We have the capability, or we will have the capability of constructing projects. In this case, the layperson can read about how they can contribute to the project, get some information about the project proposed by the scientist, and some incentives that are provided by the principal investigator who remains responsible to conduct their study. Then what we can see is the skill that is needed to contribute to the project, and we can also start access the platform by learning different skills. Here's an example of how to learn and how to get certified as an expert, how to learn to outline the mid-sagittal aspect of the corpus callosum.
The brain has a left half and a right half. We call these the left and right hemispheres. 3 bundles of nerve fibers link the 2 hips of the brain. In yellow you can see the front, or anterior commissure. In green the back, or posterior commissure. And in red the largest connection of all. the corpus callosum, or in English, the callosal body. These bundles of fibers are like electrical wires. We call them axons, and, like electrical wires, they carry electrical signals between the two hips of the brain. If you want to learn more about axons and the callosal body, go to the About This Structure section of this module. So, why is this structure, the corpus callosum, important? What is its function? Believe it or not, some people are born without this major bridge between the two sides of the brain. This condition is called callosal agenesia. People who are born without the corpus callosum can have vision and motor coordination problems because the two halves of their brain cannot talk to each other in an
This, of course, is all derived from real data.
The right brain doesn't know what the left brain is doing. We need your help to measure the size of the corpus.
And as you see, I'm stringing the people along. A lot of education in there that is not necessary in order to exploit lay people to do your experiment.
Measuring its size allows us to see whether changes are occurring in patients with these diseases, and to better understand how these diseases work and how they respond to treatments. Now let me show you how to draw this structure. On MRI images, the callosal body appears as a banana-shaped area in the middle of the brain. All you have to do is to click on the Draw Effect tool and outline its boundary. It's easy, and it will take less than a minute, but you need to be accurate. Once you have done, click on Submit to upload your results.
So, of course, my intention is not at all to exploit people into doing this, but to give something in exchange. And education is one of the things that you can give in exchange. And I'm going to show you now just a continuation of this. It's nearly finished. So you get to an online viewer. This is an old version. We have a much nicer viewer now. This was a Java application. It's very simple, as opposed to some research tools that can be a little bit daunting. You just can draw, erase, and correct. Of course, I'm putting a few mistakes in this on purpose, we hope on purpose. And so a few cases, practice cases, have been previously outlined by experts, and you can online compare yourself to them and learn through trying to follow the rules in the video. Of course, the rules was an abbreviated version. It's the responsibility, again, of the principal investigators to provide good educational material. Once you're confident, you take a test where essentially you have perhaps 10, 20 cases that have been previously analyzed by experts, and if you are not distinguishable statistically from experts, you are now a certified expert, and you can participate to all projects that require that skill. It becomes also, so here are the other aspects that I think are important is, I believe in virtual laboratories and virtual worlds, but they should be bridges of our collaborations, help us bridge collaborations between centers. So I see this mushrooming into summer schools, workshops like this, where people who have run their experiments in this system can present the results. This system has the advantage that you can drill down on every result and say, well, where does this come from? As opposed to, the typical, today's publication is figure number 1. This is a typical result of our experiments. Translation, this is the best image I could find. Here you can point to me, Charles, show me that other image, number 13, and let's see how. We all cook with water, and I believe in exposing the weaknesses of our methods in order to stimulate the research community to improve them. So many other aspects in the break. If anybody is interested, I can expand on them. I would like to really use at least what we have left to have the panel discussion, which I think is very important. I put up the questions. I'll ask the panelists to please come forward. I thank them all for the contribution they've already given. So if you can please come to the table, bring some chairs. Apparently we need more chairs. And I'll put up the slide with the questions.